What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Yu-Gi-Oh is dead in 2020. No clickbait, no trolling. I am being 100% real, genuine, and authentic in this video. And I want to talk about why I believe that is. The three biggest reasons why, in my personal opinion, guys, the TCG is just in a sad and pathetic state. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh is just, oh my goodness, it's so effing unfun right now to play current Yu-Gi-Oh. It's so bad, it's almost recognizable. And as somebody who has played the game since the third core booster set, we're talking, I don't know, 16, 17 years, over half my life, that's kind of hard for me to say. And it's actually ironic because just yesterday on my live stream, we were playing some 2011 formats, and I was like, what the hell? I'm having so much fun. You know, we were playing Chaos and TG Stun, and it was like very rewarding and satisfying. There were no 10-minute combos and 50 negates, and it almost felt like a completely different game. It was like such an eye-opening experience. But modern Yu-Gi-Oh, not very fun to play right now. And I want to talk about why 2020 has just been a trash year for this game overall. And let me just address this at the beginning of the video before someone gets in the comment sections and says, Cap G quitting Yu-Gi-Oh confirmed. I hear on the inside that he's gonna make his channel into an Animal Crossing's New Horizon channel. He's gonna stop posting Yu-Gi-Oh videos and just focus on that. Guys, I'm not quitting the game. I'm still going to solely focus and post Yu-Gi-Oh videos on this channel, although I might, do videos on other sectors of Yu-Gi-Oh, like the manga, the anime, past eras and formats of Yu-Gi-Oh, because those are far more interesting and far more enjoyable than current Yu-Gi-Oh. Also, if there are any Yu-Gi-Tubers out there who are going to make a video response to this, well, actually, Cap G, the format is super fun. Just open with 10 hand traps every game and don't get needle fiber cut. Just stop. Because I feel like even if you're going to make that video, before you do, I'll just preemptively ask you, when was the last time that you, as a Yu-Gi-Tuber, spent hours playing this game and you were not compensated? I'm talking about you just played for the love of the game, not because you're getting paid by your live stream, not because you're getting paid by Pro Play Games or anything like that. I feel like if you really ask yourself that question and you're being honest, you're probably not even going to remember the answer, or you're just going to come up with an answer that's not 2020. Okay, but let's start talking about the reasons. Reason number one, there are no tournaments. And you guys know exactly why that is. Because of the coronavirus, Konami initially started out by canceling regionals, and then they moved to the YCS, and then Worlds and National season, and basically everything was taken off the table. And truth be told, at the beginning of this, and I even said this in some videos, I thought that we would probably lose March, April, and May, but I thought by June everything was going to return back to normal. I thought surely by the fall, Konami will just have all these YCSs pushed back to the fall months and everything will be, SOP again. But guys, that's probably just not going to happen. Maybe I was a little too naive, but Konami has already canceled YCS Minneapolis, which was scheduled for late August. And honestly, because cases are spiking in the United States again, I just don't see any way that Konami is going to host these events, for the remainder of this year. That's just my opinion anyways. But I feel like even though we do have access to dueling and we can still play on Dueling Book, we can play on, YGO Pro, or excuse me, Edo Pro, and different platforms, it's just not the same experience. And believe me, I love Dueling Book. I used to spend hours upon hours on the old Dueling Network back in 5Ds and Zexal. Sometimes I would get on there and I would lose track of time and I'd be like, where the hell did 8 hours go? Did I really just spend 8 hours playing Boojins or playing, some different deck during 5Ds? Like, that used to happen all the time. But honestly, I have never thought that the online dueling simulator experience is as rewarding as going to a regional or to a YCS, where you get to see people in person and you get to hang out with them. And it's not as fun being able to read a player's reactions and see their mannerisms to know if they're bluffing and stuff like that. I've been dueling in the tri-state area, which is Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina, since 2006, going to regionals, YCSs, and even the OG Shonen Jumps for a very long time. And I always thought that one of the coolest things about that was when I would go to Virginia and I would be able to see the Maryland players and catch up with the Virginia players, people that I might only get to see once a year or once every other year, and I get to hang out with them and talk to them. Oh man, you graduated, dude, that's so cool. What, you had a kid? Like, that's awesome. You generally don't get those type of interactions when you're playing online, when you're playing on Edo Pro or on Dueling Book. Like, those are just some of the elements of the game, or some of the elements in the Yu-Gi-Oh community that you really don't have in it. You don't get when you're playing online. You don't get to trade with people and make bonds and stuff like that. So for me, the online experience of Yu-Gi-Oh, it's cool and it's great, but it's never really matched up to actually playing at physical tournaments. And honestly, just for me personally, I don't think that it ever will. So the fact that we're going to spend basically 75% of this year with no physical tournaments is just an absolute drag. And again, you can go to locals, but for me, I've never really been that big of a locals player. I've always kind of been grounded to the regional level. Those have always been my favorite events. And by the way, I'm not blaming Konami in any way for us not having events, because obviously that is because of the pandemic, but it still is affecting just, you know, my overall enjoyment of Yu-Gi-Oh in 2020. The second reason, the meta game is absolute trash. Oh my goodness. I'm honestly at the level, guys, where I can barely tolerate playing current Yu-Gi-Oh right now. If it's not Dragon Maid's that I'm playing, I really just don't find the meta game or playing the game currently all that fun. I think that we actually had, and people have said this before, we actually had a pretty decent meta until Dual Overload came out. And that set just, oh my goodness, that set just ruined the game. I mean, if you really look at that set, we had 4 Link monsters that I can make an argument are all ban-worthy, and Halifibrax, the Union Carrier, Predaplant Verde Anaconda, which is not a problem now, but don't worry, it will be in the future, and we'll talk about that a little later. And then we had, Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon, and each one of those cards is just utterly ridiculous. They all seem to have, a synergy with each other, and it feels like if you stop one, a player will just go and migrate into another one. And then to just kind of make things worse, we had the Link Cross released in Eternity Code, which was just like a month or about 6 weeks after that. And Link Cross was, that's a card that the OCG considered to be literally ban-worthy, because they banned the card almost immediately after releasing it. And by the way, if you guys don't know how rare it is that a card comes out in like a core booster set and it's banned within 6 months, like that almost never happens. For you to get into that territory, you have to be basically Dragon Rulers, Spellbook of Judgment, Dark Strike Fighter. You basically have to be on that type of level to get banned almost immediately after your release, which to me is Konami just clearly admitting that they made a mistake and then basically saying, our bad, guys, we didn't R&D test this thing properly. We're just gonna take it out of the game as quickly as possible to minimize the damage. But you release all of these broken Link monsters in a very small window, and then the game just automatically becomes focused on these cards. Like, these 5 cards are completely the heart of the meta game, and it feels like every deck just wants to summon these 5 cards as quickly as possible. Oh, you stop my Halifibrax? Not a problem. I'll just go on the Link Cross and I'll continue to combo out and get a bunch of negations. And it feels like not only do all decks revolve around the same cards, but they all end on the same general boring board. Oh, look at me, I can make Warlord Savage Dragon and Herald of the Arc Light. I'm so skillful. You've never seen this combo before. It's redundant, it's boring, it's unsatisfying to see every deck do the same exact plays. Even look at El Dorado, right? I guess I was just foolish because I thought El Dorado was supposed to be a slow-paced control deck. People were saying, oh man, it's just like Sky Striker. But look what it's turned into, where people are just, splashing in Jet Synchrons, and they're turning it into a combo deck. They're just turning it into another Halifibrax, Link Cross, Auroradon deck, that summons a bunch of negates. And it's just like, oh my goodness, the meta is just so unbelievably bad right now. And, Konami had the opportunity to address some of these issues on our recent ban list. Of course, they didn't do anything that really impacted the meta in a significant way. So I understand that they can, say, well, there are no events, so what do you expect us to do? We're not going to ban out all these archetypes that you guys haven't even been able to play at regionals or YCSs. But there's a catch-22, because if you are trying trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh in the digital form or in the online form, you gotta deal with this garbage trash format. And you have other organizations like PPG, we'll make our own ban list, ended up being trash as well. So I kind of feel like we're stuck in this really terrible metagame that isn't very fun. All the decks do the same exact thing. It's very redundant, repetitive, and there doesn't seem to be any, I guess, urgency from Konami to fix it because we don't have any events. So it feels like one problem is affecting the second problem. Reason number 3 as to why Yu-Gi-Oh is dead in 2020, at least to me, and this is probably the saddest of the 3 reasons, the metagame is going to get worse. At least that's my prediction. And usually, you could have a positive outlook about a bad metagame by thinking, well, don't worry, Cap G, on the next ban list, Konami will fix the problems and then the metagame will be good again. But I don't think that we can have that because we know exactly what's coming down the pipe. We know that we're getting Don Thousand's Numeron cards, and those cards are just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'm talking should have never been printed, broken in the anime, broken in real life, dominating the OCG like tier 0 status. We're getting those cards later this month and they are going to terrorize the game. I mean, if you think that needle fiber 10-minute combos are not fun, how not fun is it going to be when every deck just becomes a summon S0 turn 1 deck? Like, that's just going to be absolute cancer. I mean, we're going to have cancer on top of our cancer formats, and I just feel like it's going to be, who even wants to play this garbage? But it's not just the Numeron cards coming out. We got Red Eyes Dart Dragoon, another cancer card that completely warped the entire OCG format. We're getting that in our Megatons, and it's just like, bruh, the game and the meta are already so ridiculously bad. How could it possibly get worse? Okay, we'll just give you guys even more broken, unfun crap, and then we'll call it a day. So I think that when I look at the outlook for the rest of 2020, I can't even be positive because I know the crap that's coming out, and I know that it's undoubtedly going to make the game even less fun. So I look at the rest of the year and I'm just like, God, I think it's actually going to get worse. Now let me end this video with a little bit of solace and give you guys just a glimmer of hope, because I do think that Phantom Rage having 17 TCG exclusives, that's incredibly interesting. I've been talking about this before. If Konami were to break that down into 3 completely brand new TCG exclusive archetypes, that could be really interesting. Even if they're not meta, that could end up being really exciting, and I would definitely like that. And I don't want people to think that, you know, I'm just done with Yu-Gi-Oh and I think the game is just dead forever, because I want to make it very clear, and I'm gonna have to go full on President Trump here. Yu-Gi-Oh can bounce back in 2021. Like, I think that we're gonna have record numbers. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be bigger and better than anyone could have ever imagined. We're gonna go faster than anyone ever thought possible, because we have to. Okay, that's the best President Trump impression I can possibly do. But I do believe that Yu-Gi-Oh will bounce back in 2021, mainly because I don't think we can go down from here. We're basically at rock bottom. But Yu-Gi-Oh in the 2020 context, I'm done with it. Like, the game right now is absolute trash. I think 2020 is unsavable, but 2021 will be better. My main point of this video is that 2020 Yu-Gi-Oh is just, it's god awful, man. I don't really think that many people actually enjoy playing the game right now, and I want to know what you guys think and your thoughts and opinions on it. Anyways, you guys leave that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.